Hey guys, welcome to Marcus Loves Movies. My name is Marcus Lee and welcome to my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 movie review. The third and final movie in this trilogy is here and I am pleased to say up front that I really enjoyed this film. Don't switch off yet because I'll explain why, but I enjoyed this movie much more than I thought I would, and I actually blame Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania for my feeling of going into this movie a little bit unsure of whether I would enjoy it or not, so I'll explain my reasons for that. So the plot of this movie is that the Guardians are all at home, they're chilling at home on nowhere. Peter Quill is actually mourning the loss of Gamora, the woman he loved who was dead but then was brought back to life using MCU magic. But she's alive again and she has no memory of her relationship with Peter or any of the other Guardians. So he's at home drinking and drowning his sorrows. But then there is an attack on the planet by a character called Adam Warlock, which actually severely injures Rocket. Now, Rocket's life is at risk. The Guardians try to save him and operate on him, but then they realize that he's got a kill switch implanted inside him, which was put there by people who experimented on him when he was much younger. So if they operate on him, he will die. So they essentially have to go on a mission to find a way to override the code and save his life. The film then spends a large amount of time in flashback mode where we look at Rocket's early life. We get a lot of backstory about how he was experimented on, the prison-like conditions he was kept in, the friends he made, all of which happened when he was a very small, tiny baby raccoon. And without spelling out the rest of the plot, that is essentially what our movie is about. Now, I think there's a lot of greatness in this movie. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It continues with all of that classic Guardians of the Galaxy humour. Drax and Mantis provide most of the comedy. There's some great action set pieces throughout, and especially in the final third. It's also got a great soundtrack as well. I recommend checking out the soundtrack because there's some fantastic songs in there, some great choices by James Gunn. I actually found it really funny in places, but this is what's different about this movie in comparison to the other two. There's a lot of sadness in there. There's a lot of heart-tugging moments. And I'm not someone who's easily moved during movies, especially superhero movies. You know, why am I going to shed a tear in a superhero movie? But I found this film, it really hit me in the feels. And this is how I know how. Because after I watched this film, left the cinema, I was obviously thinking about the movie, but then days after watching it, I was still thinking about the themes. I actually came home and I felt this emotion in me where I wanted to hug my daughter, and some of the songs in the movie were still playing in my head, and it stayed with me in a way that I didn't expect it to. So despite the comedy, despite all of those moments as well, there's actually a lot of darkness in there as well in terms of the themes. Now, again, I'm not going to spoil anything about the film, but if you're someone who struggles with the concept of animal cruelty, and we all do, you know, but, you know, if for you, especially, you know, the thought of cruelty to animals would really hurt you, then you might struggle with this one. But I still think you should go see it. I would say credit to James Gunn, because what you've done is you've made me care and you've made me feel emotional about some CGI characters all in the space of about 60 minutes. It's not an easy thing to do to make the audience care, and it worked. Now, Rocket, who is an animal, a raccoon, he can be a bit brash, and if you've seen the previous films and all the other MCU films that he's appeared in, you know he's a funny character. He can be a bit brash, he can be a bit rude, and you wonder why that is. But it was an interesting thing that my wife actually said when we went to see this. She said, you know, you watch him and then you look at his backstory and it makes you think about how you don't always know what people have been through, and you wonder why they're rude or you wonder why they're a certain way. And, you know, it's because you don't know what they've been through. You don't understand what they've experienced in the past, and this is what is explored here in this movie. Now, in terms of criticisms, you could argue that some of the characters aren't given enough screen time. You could argue that you could probably shave off about 30 minutes. You could say that it was a little dark in places. You could argue that it goes a bit CGI crazy in the final third, which is what always happens in a Marvel movie. But that's all good. I think all of those criticisms are minor. Ultimately, I thought this film was very good. Now, like I said at the start, Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania almost ruined this movie for me, because after that movie, I watched it, I was looking forward to it, start of phase 5, and I watched it and I felt a little bit flat. Because sometimes the third movie in a trilogy, that was the third in the Ant-Man trilogy if you like, and you know, here we've got the third movie in Guardians, the third movie in a trilogy can feel a bit like the studio thinks, let's just make some money. We've made 2 films, they've gone down a tree, let's just make some more cash. Regardless of the story, people are going to come, we're going to have bums on seats, we're going to have money, you know, in the bank, it's going to make a lot of money. It can feel a bit like a cash grab. And sadly, that's what I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was. I don't think it set out to be that, but that's what it felt like. I thought we're in phase 5 now, we're in movie 30 something, and after phase 4, when you had some decent movies as well, you know, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Shang-Chi, Wakanda Forever. There were some good movies, but there are also movies where you're thinking, yeah, I've seen this before, you know, the excitement of MCU movies, it's not quite there like it used to be. And it's like, how do you continue after phase 3? How do you top Infinity War? How do you top Endgame? How do you keep the passion? How do you keep the energy going? How do you build upon that? And the answer is this movie here, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It totally did what it needed to do. How do you improve on Endgame? How do you go further than that? How do you keep the energy up when you're not focused on certain characters anymore and you've got to tell a new story? How do you do that, and how do you keep the audience fully engaged? Well, this is the answer. And for that reason, I thought this movie was absolutely brilliant. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, this is how you do a number 3. So my official Marcus Loves Movies rating for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is, mini drum roll, 4.5 stars. So I thought this movie was really great. Like I say, got me emotional in ways that I didn't expect. There were moments in the audience where things were said and the audience went, ooh, and ah. It just affected me and the audience in a way that I didn't expect a third Guardians of the Galaxy movie would. So like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would love to know what you thought about it as well. Did you enjoy this movie? There's been some great reviews about this film, and there's also been some bad reviews, which obviously I disagree with. So I would love to know what you thought about the movie. Did you think it was wonderful? Did you think it was a letdown? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And before you leave this video today, can you do me 2 quick favors? One, can you give this video a like to help the whole algorithm? And secondly, if you do like movie reviews like this one, if you like trailer reactions and film discussion, please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 movie review. Please stay tuned for the next movie review that I put out, and I'll catch up with you again soon. So until then, take care of yourselves, and thanks for watching.